So because it's the Christmas period, I stuck up a free download, and this is a track called Feels So, and it's up on SoundCloud on the Ruff Trx records page. So there's the URL, and I've had a few questions about it, so I thought I would do a behind the scenes look. And this one was actually created inside Logic, so it's a nice little change. I've been doing a lot of Cubase stuff recently, and this is actually quite a simple track. You can see this from the arrangement window here, and I've color coded stuff according to what's happening. And you've got the orange stuff, which is music, so you can see it's very simplistic on the music side. The drums are the bulk of this, but also one of the key elements of this track is the automation. So look, I've just pushed A. You can see some of it here. This is working on the vocal section here. Let me just expand this down, and you can see all the different areas where the automation is occurring. So there's about 4 main sections. I think it's maybe 5 sets of automation on the vocal, so that's exposed there. And then the bass line, you can see some other stuff going on here. So let's bring these down. So of course these little triangles on the left hand side are exposing the automation lanes, and in fact that looks like it's just 3. So I'll take you through this stuff as we're playing. So let me take it back to the beginning, somewhere around here. And one of the guys is a guy called Ableton, Able Space Ton. So thanks for getting involved on the Facebook page. You were saying about the whole kind of thing about the affected vocal, not the vocal, the chords that we're hearing now. So the chords got quite a lot of effects going on, and it was a deliberate thing on my part. I wanted something quite spacey and trippy, just kind of in a club, to create a certain vibe. So I'm going to come back, I'm going to take the effects off so we can see. So you can see what we've got going on here: stereo delay, microphaser and compressor. So this is how it was raw. So back again, stereo delay. I'm going to show you the parameters. So it's really quite a wet sound. So when I say wet, there's quite a lot of the mix of the delay coming back. The microphaser is just to space it out. You can really hear that nice kind of phasing movement going on the sound. Compressor was to balance the level out, and that is occurring after the delay. So in a way it emphasizes the delay. That's the whole thing. If you put a compressor on after a delayed signal, what it does is that the quieter delays are actually made a little bit louder. So it's kind of like enhancing the delay level. So it definitely makes it more obvious. But it was a conscious decision. I wanted a nice kind of trippy sort of vibe going on. Let's come back. So it's a real quiet intro designed literally to go over the beats of the previous tune for the DJ that's playing it. These are EXS24 instruments, so you can see here that these are all separated out. I think I've got a separate instance of EXS24 for each. You know, it's such a lean plugin that it's fine to do that. Some people use a multiple output instance of EXS24, which is cool as well. But in some respects it's simpler to do it just a separate instance. So the beats, I think I got on the kick some overdrive. There we go, yeah, so you can see that. So here's the overdrive in a solo. So it looks like there was a couple of elements sharing the same channel here. So the hats and the kick. So it makes a big difference. It adds that kind of chunky, distorted texture. So it's really nice for that kind of raw flavor. Now, here's the bass, right? The bass has been going on for a little while. So bass is massive, and here's the EQ that I used, warming up the lows, a big dip in the mids. So when you first hear it, it's got this kind of deep, kind of bouncy sort of texture to it. A couple of elements here, just having a look. That's just a compressor to even out the volume. The second compressor, I believe, is a sidechain. There we go. Yeah, look. So the kick is ducking the volume just to create some extra clarity, because this is a real bottom heavy tune that needed a little bit more space. So you can see here the auto filter. Let's check the cutoff. You can see that rising. So it's creating the kind of evolving bass sound. That's what's going on with that. So it's coming up. You start to notice it a lot more. It's got pitch bend in there. Here's massive. Just going to open it up. This is a preset, okay? So I've got no problem with using presets. You know, if I'm knocking up an idea, I'll certainly go through some and see how they sound. So that's that. Love the fall on the end there. I'll tell you what, I'll come back to massive, because what it is if we take a look at this, the parameters over here are what I'm using to create some variation. So look, let me come back on this. So really the whole intro is about building up to this section here where there's a gap, and then what I do in the gap is I create a little snare fill. So look, I'm going to shut up for a little while, have a listen. So actually, I want to backtrack also on the vocal section, so you could hear what was going on with the vocal there. Lots of stuff going on. The vocal is from the Logic Vox library, so you know, the Apple loops. I just cut it up, so you can see what's going on here. Tape delay. You can see the filter here being manipulated, the feedback to create extra echoes. And then over here, quite a large amount of manipulation. To see over here, the low cut, high cut. So I was thinning out the sound at the very end there where the snare fill hits, and then we're dropping straight into that heavy bass line and beats kind of combination. Let's come back. The snare fill was an 808. That's on the classic hip hop remix kit, and what I did, I flipped to create that little pitch shift. From what I remember, I flipped the keys here, so that's the higher one, the lower one, so that's nice. And you see the higher snare has got a bit of space around it, that's in the sample, so creates a textural difference. So totally dry and then wet, the effect around it, so it goes more stereo, dry again, so it's a nice little contrast. And let's come back. And let's take a look again at the bass. So you can hear it got filtered there. That's auto filter automation. You can see that as well really clearly. But we're coming up to a bit where the sound changes. So have a listen. Come up to a bit where it's going to flip again. So watch this one here, rise. So if I solo that, we've got a contrast, so where it was kind of like a pitch fall, it's kind of going up, and it sounds almost kind of backwards in a way. So look. See, it's going up now, whereas before it was coming down. And it's going to go back to the opposite direction in a second. You can see the automation trigger here. There we go. So I put it back in with the track. Oh yeah, that vocal there. I put the flanger over this and the vocal transformer. So originally it was That's how it was before. That sounds really just kind of abstract. Another one of those kind of trippy things for the club. So you can see it's a real kind of bassline sort of tune, so there's not too much going on musically. A lot of the stuff is related to the drum programming, that bass being a real kind of key element, almost like a riff in a way. And you know, the structure is really simple, so it's definitely a DJ tune. Just a little thing about what's going on here on the master. What we've got is the magnetic. You guys know that I like this. I've pushed quite a little bit into the tape and this vintage colouring. The gain is being increased here just to add a little bit of binding together. It's almost like kind of gelling to the mix. Then also before that, the Vibe EQ. I really like the Vibe EQ. This is a really nice one. Stillwellaudio.com. Go and check that one out. It's nice and cheap. And then also the L2, the Waves L2, which was a recent purchase. This is great because I was able to use the Waves stuff at point blank, but when I left, I couldn't anymore. So this is a limiter that I really like, and I bought it recently in their really good deals. So that's being used to just kind of do the limiting job at the end of the chain. So have a look. Not too much attenuation. This is really quite an easy one, you know, if you want to get more level, more loudness as such, your mix, you bring the threshold down. But the danger is the more you do that, the flatter the waveform is going to look, and the less of a, you know, dynamic range you're going to have. So use that with care. But it's a great limiter, you know, literally at the end of your chain on the signal. So that's pretty much it. If you guys have got any questions about anything else about it, put them in the comments, and I'll see if I can do some more behind the scenes things soon.